clearly, there's a big divide between the average Joe on the workforce and CEOs. And joining us to discuss the tensions between this ever-growing CEO pay versus what employees at their firms are making is Arthur Wheaton. He is Director of Labor Studies, School of Industrial and Labor Relations at Cornell University. Thanks so much for taking time to talk with us. Look, on the surface, I think people at home shaking their heads, looking at the TV, looking at their computer screen, whatever, CEOs from different sectors just getting huge amounts, record-breaking compensation. Give us a few more examples, and why is this exploding like this?
It's even worse when you look deeper and deeper into it. If you go back to 1978, since 1978, they've been a 1,200% increase for CEO pay and a 15.3% increase for workers. So it has been growing dramatically for the last few decades. And you can kind of lay a chart to show the union percentage or union density with CEO pay. As unions go down, CEO pay goes way, way up because there's nothing to counteract that. So there are many examples. I think right now Elon Musk from Tesla is trying to win back a pay raise that he got for compensation of like 56 billion with a B dollars for some of his stock and some of his activities, and it was finally rejected for being excessive, but they're trying to see if they can get it back. So the numbers are mind-boggling.
Absolutely. And then when you have these companies that float the idea of, maybe we need to go on strike to get what we need. We talked about the nurses. We've talked about people who work at airlines and many others. So the reaction from investors may just shock some people. Stellantis approving this massive pay for their CEO. You talked about Tesla backing, shareholders backing huge pay packages. You got to wonder why. I mean, clearly the stock's going up and these guys are making a lot of money.
It's kind of a rigged system. It's a rigged game where the people that make the decision on how much to pay them is a smaller community of executives that's saying, okay, I will be on your board or compensation board and make recommendations, and you'll be on mine. And it's a smaller network. It's not the same as having, people try to apply for a job. It is a very predetermined system to dramatically reward the CEOs when it's not clear they provide that much value.
Yeah, that's the thing that gets me, because when this first started happening, I think maybe in the late 90s, they would say, well, look what this individual does for a corporation or company, and we would hate to lose him or her to the open market. But like you said, I can't imagine anyone brings that kind of value. And secondly, there are efforts by some states that I know of, I don't know about from a federal level, to try and limit this. I think it's happened out west, maybe in Oregon and another state. Do you think that could get some traction?
I think legislation would be necessary, but getting legislation in the U.S. on anything is difficult. So getting 60 U.S. senators to agree on what time it is hard enough. So it's very difficult to get legislation passed to make it nationally. They can do it state by state, but that doesn't work as well. And you're also seeing, corporations change locations so they can get a better tax break. So Tesla moved and saying, yeah, we're tired of paying high stuff in California. We'll just change our headquarters to go to Texas and we'll shop for cheaper rates and get better returns.
Okay, so what about the effect on the bottom line at companies like Stellantis, Warner Brothers, and we talked about Disney, and they went through that very punishing strike by its very talented writers and actors, and the amount of money that some of those people make was so small. So giving them any kind of raise, and I still to this day don't quite understand why management dug in its heels so much on that one.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. So for the auto sector, the labor costs are about 5%. So they're complaining about having to pay higher wages and, oh, it's going to kill us if we give a raise. Not more than a couple days later, they tell their stockholders, oh, yeah, the raise to the employees, that was no big deal. That won't hurt our profits at all. We'll still be able to pay our dividends, and we'll increase our dividends and do stock buybacks. But all the rhetoric is, oh, my God, that's terrible. We can't pay that much of an increase, when in reality it's a small amount for the workers. And it's not fair, and it has been a problem going back to 1980. In the 1970s, you had Lee Iacocca at Chrysler when he made the deal with the minivans, he got 721 times more than the average worker. So it was just an astronomical number that they're paying people for a personality, and there's no way they're bringing that much value to the table as compared to the workers actually building the product.
You know, and I think about the ousted head of Boeing who's going to be leaving the company soon, and he's got a massive golden parachute, and he oversaw that company lose its reputation, and once its reputation becomes that tarnished, one presumes it's going to be very difficult to get it back. So why give that guy a huge payout?
That's kind of the way the nature of the beast is that they have set up all these golden parachutes, is what they're referred to as, an escape hatch, and they're willing to take the job and they negotiate that deal. It's kind of like a prenuptial agreement or something for getting married for these CEOs, and they pay them very handsomely to leave to avoid a stock fight or a chance of losing it. But Boeing has been dramatically impacted by their quality issues, and they're facing serious problems up ahead for competition with Airbus if they can't fix the problems they have.
Okay, so other than getting people's blood boiling, what can be done about this? Are the unions, can they have any input into CEO value pay, what they are getting? Is there any perhaps bump in the road that could lead to this slowing down, because this is just kind of out of control?
Your best chance is collective bargaining and having it at the bargaining table with the unions, because that's what they were set up for under the National Labor Relations Act, that they were there to try to divide the profits between the company and the employees. That's what it's for, and they tried. And I think the UAW was very successful in using CEO pay as one of the major issues for driving their success at the bargaining table. And you saw the same thing playing out in the airline industry, and you're seeing it as a hot button issue where the general public, 75 to 80% said, we agree with the union, these CEOs are getting way too much. And it's sector after sector. The public was on the side for the SAG-AFTRA. They were on the side for UPS and for the Teamsters for UPS. They're saying, you know what, this executive pay is just not working very well, that the inflation seems to be going way up for their pay, and inflation is killing the workers' paychecks, and they're not keeping up.
The rich get richer, and the other end of the stick just keeps fighting and fighting. Arthur Wheaton, thanks.
It's an age-old story in the U.S. It hasn't changed. We're hoping to improve it, and as the unions go down and collective bargaining is not quite as prevalent, that creates more problems. So that's why you're seeing a big resurgence in strikes in the U.S. so that the unions can say, you know what, if we don't make some changes, it's going to get worse. Okay, Arthur, good stuff. Would love to have you back again and talk about this down the line. Thank you again. Thank you.